Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. My audience is enthusiastic today. We took it from the group across the street that's picketing during the writer's strike over here at Warner Brothers Studio. So they're excited that something's on the air because they're not. So we're rooting for them, and we hope that they resolve their differences really soon. Well, welcome. You've come to my show, and we're live for the first time on YouTube. So we got one of the first after doing shows for 7 years. I'm finally don't have to transfer shows post-show. It's right up on YouTube now, so I hope you're watching. Hi, YouTube viewers. You've reached me. This is Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. I'm conversations that connect to a healthier you. And I call it that because I want you to get involved in the conversation today. So right up front, I'm going to ask you if you have a comment, a question, or you want to get involved and just become part of the conversation with myself and my guest today, give us a call. And the number here is area code 323-524-2599. Write it down. If you're driving, let it go. But it's area code 323-524-2599. Now, if you can't call and you're watching live and you want to make a comment or ask a question, you can do so on YouTube or my Facebook, Balanced Life by Debbie, where we're live right now, one or the other, DEBI. If it's after the fact and you want to make a comment or ask a question, either of those places, I get notifications when a comment or question pops up. And then I go to my guest, if the question is for them, to answer or to get involved in the conversation, even well after the show is over. So we want you to get involved today. Got a subject that is probably very pertinent to most people, definitely women as they age, and definitely women who have had children. So that puts a huge category of what my audience is that this show is going to be very relevant for. But before we get going with that, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a health and nutrition coach. And like I've mentioned, I call my business Balanced Life. And the reason being is because there's a lot of things that have to come together in order for us to have balance in our life, like our relationships, our career, our finances, definitely our food, definitely our exercise, our sleep. So many things that mean alignment for us in order for our life to find the balance and to be happy and live joyful and healthy. That's my mission, to help you do that. And I do that in many ways. I can do that one-on-one with you. You can get a hold of me by going to my website, again, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI. And right there, you're going to see a pop-up. It's going to be a summer pop-up pretty soon because we're getting into bikini season, or any kind of season. The weather's hot. We're wearing less clothes, and you want to feel a little lighter in them. I have a detox for you. It's a 3-day detox. It's easy to buy. There's a little market list there, so you can buy the ingredients in 3 days for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No snacking in between. You are going to feel amazing. And these are delicious, satiating foods that I know that you're going to like. So go there, grab that pop-up, and while you're there, take a look at all my services, because I do help people from a health coaching standpoint. I help people from a personal training standpoint, and you can live anywhere in the world for that to happen. I do groups, and I do talks, and I do workshops. So get involved with me. If you've got anything that's kind of low in the alignment totem pole kind of thing, you know your finances aren't working out, your relationships are bringing you down, I have the tools and all the ways to work with you to kind of pull it back up and get everything, so the joy and the happiness and the longevity with quality, because that's what I'm all about, is there. So thank you. I'm going to get on with the show because this show is about longevity with quality. And one of the other phrases that I've coined for a while is about aging young. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today, because as you know, most of my clients, friends, and family know that I'm all about aging young. That can mean many things when it comes to what we need to know about what happens to our bodies as we age. And one of those things for women is what happens to our pelvic floor as we age and what we need to do to understand and to prevent bladder leakage, incontinence, and sexual dysfunction. Incontinence significantly impacts quality of life. It's widespread among women of all ages, but it is a condition that many find too personal to disclose. So, my guest today, MaryEllen Reider, is an expert in this field. MaryEllen is the co-director of Yarlap, the wellness device to treat urinary incontinence and improve sexual performance and experience through muscle control. MaryEllen spends a lot of time researching and finding out what's new in the pelvic floor world and the social media realm. She strives to empower women through their pelvic floor muscles. She enjoys getting to know her customers through social media and speaking events and inspiring people about why the Kegel exercises and Yarlap are so important. So let's talk all things pelvic floor. Will you please welcome my guest, MaryEllen Reider, to the show? And there's our audience. Hi, MaryEllen.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Good afternoon.
I know. I'm excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being with me. Wait, where are you located? I'm not sure I asked you that.
I am located in Oxford, Ohio. It's about 45 minutes away from Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a tiny little rural town.
Oh, okay. So it's a little bit later in the afternoon for you live right now. So
yeah. I'm closing out my day by talking to you. So this is going to be a really nice, good end of the day.
We'll tie it up in a pretty little package for you. And we're going to get started right away with a little bit about you and why, how, and we're going to go back where you grew up. I know that that your co-founder and your father invented Yarlap. So I want to talk a little bit about that in your life growing up, what that is, and how you got involved with your father to co-found this and get it out there to the public, because it's an amazing device. And we're going to talk about my story in a little bit, but let's hear yours first. So go back. Where are you from? Where were you born? And all that.
So I born in Columbus, raised in Oxford, Ohio, and my dad is a medical device engineer. He does a lot of muscle rehabilitation, so knee, back, a lot of those kind of pains. And he was also on the team that helped design the pelvic floor muscle rehabilitation device used for the national healthcare system in France, Germany, Scandinavia, and Great Britain. And I was always very interested in women's rights and women's health. And I was actually an intern for Women in Kosovo, doing kind of a line along those lines there. And I knew I wanted to do something within that realm. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And we had an aunt who's not really an aunt, but in the Midwestern sense, not blood related, but friendly. And she had urinary incontinence, and we saw less and less of her. And we didn't really know why. And then it turns out she had incontinence to the point where she was bathroom mapping, and she knew she had about 15 to 20 minutes before she leaked, and she couldn't do anything. She didn't want to leave the house because she didn't want to risk it. She was very embarrassed, and so she isolated herself. And we had the tools from Dad's previous know-how and devices to say, well, this isn't normal. This is not this is not a new normal for you. This is something that could be treated if you tone your pelvic floor muscles. Well, it turns out there was nothing over the counter for that at the time. And so we started going through the FDA process. It wasn't like one day we were like, we're going to be an FDA cleared device, and the next day we got it. Took years and thousands of pages of paperwork, and we finally got the clearance for the Yarlap. and she was one of the first people that got it. And it was so wonderful to be able to kind of have that be part of our origin story, to come full circle and to treat that and help her. And we've been doing that since 2017, and I've been doing it since then, and it's been wonderful.
Wow, that's really cool. I've never heard of bathroom mapping. That's when you have to figure out where the next bathroom is from where your location, where you're going to be at the specific time. Is that what that is?
Yeah, so it's kind of basically creating a diary of when you go to the bathroom, how frequently you evacuate yourself and how much liquid was evacuated, and the times between it. So it's essentially just a bathroom diary. And a lot of women, it kind of encroaches to the point where you start looking for where the bathrooms are in public places. So you, let's say you're going to your child's graduation and it's at a stadium. The first thing that you're looking at is where the bathrooms are located within that building. It's kind of things like that where you know.
Oh, I do that.
Yeah, where you know where the bathrooms are all located, you know how long it should take you roughly. If there's going to be a line, you probably should leave a little bit earlier. It's that kind of a situation where after a while you train yourself essentially to know exactly where the bathrooms are, how often you go, how much you void, and all these other types of things. And it's pretty common.
Yeah, I do that. I didn't know that's the term for it. And so I'm going to give you a little story. But before I do, I just want to put a little disclaimer in up at the top. Obviously, we were talking about some delicate situations. And we were talking about pelvic floor and muscles, and that could get into a sexual conversation. So moms, dads, parents, babysitters, if you've got kids in the room, now would be the time to either have them do something else or put some headsets on, just in case we talk about something that may not be appropriate for them to hear, or you don't want them to hear yet. But so this is why when you approached me to be on my podcast, I got a hold of you and said, let's talk about this, because I have something called an overactive bladder. Now, I think I'm handling it pretty well because I know the things that I'm supposed to do on my end. But as we're going to see as we talk today, that it isn't enough, probably. So my overactive bladder makes me have to go to the bathroom, pee more often than not. So when I'm in public places, I always spot where the bathrooms are, and I always do time if I go to that restroom. Let's say I'm at a concert venue, and I go to that restroom, that's near the snack bar, so that's going to be a lot busier. I'm going to have to go downstairs to the more private one, or I'm going to be waiting. And nobody wants that feeling. But at a concert, not only is your adrenaline going, but everything you drink, water, or even if you have alcohol, which makes it even worse, is going to go right through you. And that's what happens to me with liquid in those situations. It's worse when you don't want it to be worse. When you're home, it's a lot easier. So that started to get to the point where it felt like I had to go all the time. And this was several years ago. And I went to my gynecologist and said, and she's actually a pelvic floor specialist. She's urologist. And so I asked her, I said, what is going on? And she said, well, you have an overactive bladder. Here's the things that you need to do for it. And I realized it's something that can come with age, but not necessarily. It's something that can come from an athlete, which I was a competitive runner and tennis player, something I still do, played tennis. So there's a lot of pounding and a lot of shifting and probably a loss of muscles. And I had two natural, very long childbirths. So a combination of things. And then I'm sure genetics plays a role too, because I remember when I was a little girl, when I used to laugh too hard, I would literally pee in my pants. And now sometimes when I giggle or sneeze or cough, there's leakage. And so that's part of weakness of the bladder. So it can be embarrassing. It can be like what you were talking about with your aunt. It can be debilitating and nerve-wracking. So there's my story. What I'd like to do is start from the beginning, talk about what the pelvic floor is, and where it's located, because not everybody has an idea of what they're dealing with from an anatomy standpoint. And then let's get into what happens and how we get weakness of those pelvic floor muscles, if that's okay.
Yeah, so your pelvic floor muscles, I'm a visual learner. So if you are a visual learner as well, this may help. It's kind of like a hammock. So these muscles zigzag across your pubic bone to the back of your spine, and they basically create a foundation, a hammock, to hold your bladder, your uterus, and your visceral organs into its foundation, into its natural, proper position. And over time, whether that is, again, just time hormones, repetitive motion, like you said, with running and jumping, but also pregnancy and childbirth, those are very strenuous as well. Through that, there could be some atrophy or some weakening of those pelvic floor muscles. And when they get weaker or they atrophy, they can kind of sag. And when that happens, everything shifts from its natural position, and it basically creates a lot of pressure onto your bladder because everything falls and your bladder's at the bottom of that. And so sometimes when you put some extra pressure from laughing or coughing or sneezing or something like that, you no longer have that muscle ability to hold on, and you accidentally leak yourself. Oftentimes, if there is a lot of atrophy, non-use of these pelvic floor muscles, they become weak and they're just inactive. And so they'll cause to spasm. And that's oftentimes when you have the sudden urge to go to the restroom and you can't hold it. That spasm, it's kind of like that sudden hug to your bladder from those muscles, and you leak and you void yourself. And so again, multitude of different factors, especially for women, lead to that weakening of that pelvic floor muscle. But it's essentially the hammock that is that foundation, the first floor, to holding everything into its natural position. And when it sags, then your back compensates for that. So sometimes we have women who call into us and they tell us they have unexplained back pain. It's from that back muscle trying to come in and compensate for what the pelvic floor muscle should be doing, but your back should not be doing that. And then over time, that becomes too strenuous. Your back kind of just goes, I'm not doing this anymore. And then because of the way your body is built, that pressure then goes down to your knees, and your knees are then holding that. So it's really important to keep those pelvic floor muscles in shape and toned and active.
And how does it impact sexual dysfunction? Because, obviously these are muscles we need. And when those start to atrophy or to weaken, how does that affect our sexual life?
Yeah, so everything kind of intertwines together. I think a lot of times we try to compartmentalize everything, especially when women's health, but it's all together. And so sexual health is really, really big. And your clitoris, this is one of my favorite fun facts, is your clitoris actually runs along your pelvic floor muscles. And so when you're having an orgasm and you feel like a pulsating, that's you doing your Kegel exercises. That's your pelvic floor muscle contracting. And so when you have this muscle memory of where your body knows what it's doing, and it knows how to do it very well, you have a really strong response to the orgasm because your body goes, oh, we know how to do these exercises and we know how to do them very, very well. And so a really well-toned pelvic floor can and may also help with a stronger response to the orgasm. In another different direction, a lot of people, some women have a hypertoned pelvic floor, which is a constant tense pelvic floor muscle. In those cases, you should not be doing Kegel exercises because you don't want to clench an already clenched pelvic floor. But in those cases, it's really painful to have sex. Penetration is really difficult. It's not fun. Some people report it feels kind of like they're getting poked and prodded and almost stabbed. It's a very unpleasant sensation, and it kind of makes all that penetrative sex very uncomfortable and very unpleasant. So,
and you said
floor muscles.
You said it's a tented, and you shouldn't tense. Oh, tense. Oh, I thought you said
tight.
tense.
Yeah,
okay,
tight.
got you. I thought it was like, oh, is that a shape that it takes on?
No,
okay, so it's
a tense
tense.
pelvic floor.
Yeah. And that's one of the only ways to know that it's tense is if it's painful during sex. Is that correct?
Well, the big thing is if you think that any of this is happening to you is to go talk to your doctor. And I know that that's a luxury for a lot of people. And they're embarrassed by it, but I can guarantee you that they've already talked to like 4 other people in that day about this very specific issue alone.
Yeah.
So don't feel embarrassed or weirded out by it, because it's common, not normal, but it's a very common issue, and it's not something that you have to live with. So if you're having any kind of distress during sex, go talk to your doctor. It's not going to be embarrassing. It's going to be really, really important to kind of map your way to a better quality of life.
Right. And these are fixable, right? This is all fixable. Okay.
Right. There are different things that you can do. You can do your Kegel exercises, or if you have a really tense pelvic floor, it's really important that you learn to relax those muscles and learn the exercises to do that. So again, a great starting point is to go to your doctor, because I can guarantee you already know something's up.
Right.
So go ask.
That's prompted me too. It prompted me too, because I remember this was maybe 5 years ago when I first discovered that not that I was losing control of my bladder, but that I was like laying in bed and it was nighttime and I had already emptied my bladder before I went to bed, and I still had the feeling that I had to go to the bathroom. And I started, so I kind of had a late bloom in terms of drinking coffee and drinking caffeine. For a long time, I was such a caffeine drinker right out of college that shortly after, maybe 5 years after when I got pregnant with my first daughter, I cut out everything. And I wasn't even drinking coffee at that time. I was just drinking tea and back in those days, we had a soft drink called Tab, which was actually very addicting. I think it's still out there. It shouldn't be. And that's how, like my early production days in production were, that's how I was getting through on caffeine. And then I took it out of my life for like 20 years. And then I came back as an older adult in my 50s, bringing coffee into my life for pretty much the first time in my life. And I saw a correlation between the amount of caffeine I was having, 2 or 3 cups in the morning, to that feeling of always having to go. And I know that caffeine and alcohol, fill up your bladder, weaken it, and have a lot to do with the overactive bladder syndrome that I had. But I was also told that though my pelvic floor has not dropped, according to my doctor, I, have the weakened muscles for sure. And it's, you start to attribute these things. Oh, this wouldn't happen if I was still in my 20s or 30s. But I think it could if you abused alcohol and caffeine. Not that I was abusing it, but I was definitely overdoing it. So it becomes debilitating. And at this age, there are so many things that you're dealing with as we age that we are compensating for, being aware of, trying to do our best at so we can age young. This is not one more thing we want on our plate. And you don't want to be, I was looking the other day for pull-ups for my granddaughter because she's potty training right now. And in the same section were all the adult diapers. And you definitely don't want to be somebody who has to, and we see those commercials and you go, please, that's not how I see this act. I'm in my late 60s and this is not how we want this act to play out. So I appreciate, and I want to get into what we can do to make this go away or to prevent it, to be preventative. And maybe we could get a definition of what a Kegel is, what it does, how it works, and then I want to talk all about the Yarlap device as well.
Yeah. So
we have a phone call. We actually have a phone call. Let's take that, and then we're going to get into that. Hello, caller. Are you there? Where are you calling from, and what's your name?
Hi, my name is Maureen, and I'm calling from Kentucky.
Oh, wow. Hi, Maureen. Thanks for joining us today. Do you have a question for myself or MaryEllen, or a comment about what we're talking about?
Yeah, so I have a question, I guess, for you or MaryEllen, either one. So I know I kind of have a question about Kegels. So, like, I know that, as women, we're supposed to do them, and I kind of only remember to do them, like, when it's brought up. But what is the benefits of doing Kegels, and why should women be doing them, I guess, more, or how often? I guess I'm just wanting to know more about that.
Oh, timing is so perfect because that's the question I just asked MaryEllen. So stay on the line and we're going to get this answer right now.
Yeah. So I think that there is an assumption that Kegel exercises are like the one size fits all. It's the golden exercise for your pelvic floor muscles. And for some women it is, but not for everybody. But your Kegel exercises are kind of a clench and release. So a lot of women, the easiest way is to imagine that a string is going from your pelvic floor all the way up to the top of your head. And every few seconds, you want to pull that string up. And so you pull those muscles up, hold them there for 5 to 10 seconds, and then release them for 5 to 10 seconds. And then do it again, hold it for 5 to 10 seconds, and then release them. And you want to do that in repetition of maybe, if you can, 30 or so. And you want to do that a few times throughout the day. And then you want to do that as often as you possibly can remember. And I think I'm very guilty. I know you just said this, that you remember every once in a while, and then it kind of just falls off the wayside. But it's important to keep it up as often as you possibly can remember. Our biggest one is just to try to do them as often as you can at a red light. Or at a stop sign.
But
that's a good idea.
I know they're so hard to remember. That's why this device is such a godsend and a miracle, really, to make it easier. And why is it important to strengthen? For all the reasons. Will it literally, if we do our Kegels, will it stop incontinence? Will it help with the sexual pain that some people have, and having more intense orgasms? Will it do all the things we've been talking about that we don't want to happen? Will it actually reverse that?
So I'm not a licensed healthcare professional, so I can't diagnose and say that it will. But for a lot of women, if you remember to do your Kegel exercises, and you remember to do them properly, so you're not clenching your butt or your thigh or anything like that, it does help, because it's going to, again, shift everything back into its natural position. So not a lot of pressure is going to be put on your bladder. And so you really want to make sure that you're doing the proper exercise, you're doing it for the right amount of time, again, and that you're not letting it kind of fall off and forgetting about it. And again, when we tie into the sexual part of it, when you're having an orgasm, again, when you feel the pulsating feeling, that's your Kegel exercises. And the more toned those pelvic floor muscles are, the stronger that sensation may be. And so a lot of people, when they have a really great toned pelvic floor muscle, they have a wonderful, mind-blowing orgasm, because their body responds and goes, wait, we know how to do this exercise. We know exactly what you're trying to do, and we can do it very well, and we can do it with all the strength. And so again, you have this mind-blowing orgasm because your body knows how to do a Kegel exercise. But for the women who have a really tense pelvic floor, you don't want to do a Kegel exercise because you don't want to clench an already clenched pelvic floor. So for the people who have hypertonus, for instance, or something like that, it's really important that you learn how to relax those pelvic floor muscles and not do a Kegel.
Oh, interesting. So what I'd like to do, and it was Maureen, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Did that help answer your question a little bit?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, absolutely. That was super useful because, like I said, it's kind of, again, one of those that are brought up. I love doing it at a red light idea and just the benefits of it. I think it's just a really important reminder for all women. So this was super helpful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for calling, and keep listening, because we're going to take a quick break. And we come back, we're going to hear all about this miracle device that you and your dad have co-founded, and how it works and how we can take all the worry out of things going south, literally. Thanks, Maureen, for calling in. And my audience will be right back after this word from one of my sponsors. Without looking at labels, do you actually know what is in the cleaning products that you use in your home? If you haven't addressed this yet, it's likely that you are spraying toxic and dangerous chemicals in your home. 3 common ingredients that you want to avoid at all costs are ammonia, fragrance, and bleach. These ingredients and chemicals can contribute to chronic respiratory problems, allergic reactions, allergies, cancer, hormonal issues, headaches, and more. So what's the solution to a healthier, clean home for your family? Teas Organics, all-purpose cleaner, and room sprays. Tea's products are formulated with the power of an essential oil blend. Her all-purpose cleaner gives you a clean surface, shower, toilet, or simply just use it to spot clean or dust, and all without harsh chemicals. And to make it even better, Tea's Organics all-purpose cleaner uses 100% organic essential oils and has a sweet yet spicy herbal aroma with hints of citrus. Imagine a fresh, inviting scent and sparkling clean home that you know is free from toxic, potentially harmful, and cancer-causing chemicals. I use these products, and I can personally attest to all of the above. And right now, enjoy a 15% discount by applying 15 Debbie, DEBI, to your order. So check out these amazing products by Tea's Organics that are healthy for you and your home. We're back. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. Hi to my audience watching us live on YouTube. I'm really excited to be doing live YouTube. I'm also on my Facebook page, Balanced Life by Debbie, Facebook. And if you want to make a comment, ask a question, you can do so on there or YouTube. Or you can give us a call if you're watching live, and we're here at 323-524-2599. We just had a caller right before the break. It was a fabulous question, and we got a great, got some good information on the answer. So my guest today is MaryEllen Reider, and she is a co-founder of an amazing device that will keep you from having to think about what we were just talking about, doing your Kegels at a stop when you're at a light, or when you're in the kitchen cooking, or when you think about it. And who knew that it was so elaborate that you had to hold it? How long did you say? For like 5 seconds, like for a count of 5?
Yeah, 5 to 10 seconds, whatever is comfortable for you. For some women, they just can't hold it for that long, and that's okay. Anywhere 5 to 10 seconds. Okay,
so let's talk about this device to take that out of the equation. And so what is Yarlap? What is it?
So the Yarlap is an FDA-cleared medical device to treat female urinary incontinence. So stress, when you laugh, sneeze, cough, or pee. Urge, you have the sudden urge to go to the restroom and you can't hold it. And then mixed, which is both stress and urge together, that combination. And what it does is it sends a signal directly into your pelvic floor muscles to do the exercise for you. So as we were talking, as I was talking about with Maureen, a lot of women, they tend to use the wrong muscles. They'll use their butt, their thighs, or, their lower abs to kind of hold and crunch, lift and hold. And if you're doing that, you're not necessarily using your pelvic floor muscles, or if you are, you're not using them in their entirety. And if you're not using the correct protocol, you're not going to get the correct result. And so a lot of women, they'll say, I've done Kegel exercises and I still have this problem. Well, most women, over 50% of women, can't do a Kegel exercise properly. They're just really, really hard to do. One, we can't see the muscle. It's physically impossible to see the muscle because it's so isolated and inside ourselves. Two, we don't really know, we're not taught throughout school where these muscles are, how you're supposed to use them, what the exercise feels like. And so by the time we're trying to do it, self-initiated and self-taught is really difficult to do. So the Yarlap was designed to kind of go in line with what your pelvic floor therapist tells you to do your Kegel exercises, and it does it for you correctly. So it takes all that guesswork of, am I using the right muscles? Am I using it the right amount of time? Am I overworking the muscles? All that other stuff is just right out the window, and the Yarlap just does it all for you.
Wow. And how do you, so it's obviously inserted vaginally. And then there's a little like computer that you turn on. How do you know, is it like you were talking about earlier, it's not really a one size fits all thing. How do you know what works for you in terms of, are there different, I should say, levels, or is it all just a one shot deal? And how often?
Yeah, so there's 6 preset programs already in there, 2 for each stress, urge, and mix to help kind of get the best result. And you know that the exercise is working because the MA, so the milliamp, sends a signal, and you are able to set that to your own comfort level. So you're able to feel the exercises happening as the Yarlap is instructing your muscles to move. So you know, and you're comfortable because you can feel the muscles moving. At first, it kind of is a little bit bizarre because these muscles are moving and you're not signaling them.
Yeah.
You're not thinking, move, clench, hold, okay, do it. It's just doing it all for you. But it's actually extremely relaxing and comfortable. And after a while, it's just kind of part of your routine and it's automatic.
And how often should you be using it, or does it depend on your diagnosis, whether you've got the overactive bladder, whether you've got your pelvic floor is dropped, or how often should we be using it?
3 to 5 days a week, because even though they're really comfortable, they are a strenuous workout because they're really going in there and they're doing exactly what you have been instructed to do. So they are really high intense workouts. So we always want to have at least 2 days a week where you're resting those muscles, because rest is just as important as working out, as you know, because you do all the working out.
Yeah.
So rest is equally as important as actually doing the exercise. And so we really strongly recommend 3 to 5 days a week, 5 days always being the max.
And what do generally your users, your clients, see when they start to see a difference? How soon with the use of the device?
Well, we have a lot of women from a variety of tone when it comes to pelvic floor muscles. I mean, we have women who don't have incontinence, but they've seen their moms or their grandmothers who have it, and they're like, I don't want to, so I want to make sure that I maintain this tone. So for them, they just continue having strong pelvic floor muscles. Sometimes we get to hear about how wonderful it is that they're having orgasms again. And then we have women who have had incontinence for decades. You know, they've had their child's an adult now, but they're fed up peeing themselves when they're trying to do something like a gym class or going to the grocery store, going, to an outing. And so it really just depends on where you are with your tone of your pelvic floor, but anywhere between 2 to 12 weeks, you're going to start noticing some really positive effects, whether that's in the bedroom, or you're able to hold it through the night, or you're able to hold it throughout, your child's graduation or something like that.
Yeah, or my concerts that I go to.
Or your concerts.
Yeah, it's so bad. And like I'm sort of a joke, when I'm out with groups of friends at concert venues, especially big venues where wherever your seat is, you have a long walk and then usually a line at a bathroom. Or even if I'm out and about with my daughters, my granddaughter, and we're going from we're shopping, we're running errands, we're going from different, but I always have to stop every hour. I need to find. So that's why I think I am guilty of bathroom mapping, because I always have to think about, all right, I'm not going to go to a gas station. So what restaurant can I just walk into and go straight to the restroom? And now my granddaughter is so, and her being potty trained is kind of good because she comes with me, and, we can give her a little shot at trying to go as well. But she's catching on that it's a thing for me, that every hour when she's with me, we're going to stop and use the restroom, especially if I've had a cup of coffee, an iced tea. Even I keep my water bottle on me. I drink about 2 to 3 of these. They are 24 ounces. So I drink I need to do that because of my high intense workout days and stuff, and teaching spinning. I need to keep, and I do hot yoga like 3-4 days a week. So I get dehydrated super easy. And so especially just getting older is dehydrating. So I have to drink a lot, but definitely I pee a lot, and it's become a thing. It becomes a thing. So I love that you can see a difference. And, we're really, what we're talking about and what I'm all about, we're talking about quality of life. It is debilitating for me, because who wants to look and find, where is there a bathroom? How long am I going to be able to hold this? Oh God, I got to go. And I'm somewhere where there aren't, I'm at a park where the bathrooms are gross, or at the beach. I was at a friend's memorial on Sunday, and it was at a park here in Santa Monica, California. And there are public restrooms, but they're not nice. But sure enough, 3 times in a 2.5-hour period, and I had to go stand in line and use these not so desirable restrooms. And I wasn't over drinking water on purpose, and I wasn't drinking coffee or alcohol all day, so it bugged me that, somehow my brain connects public place, where's the bathroom, and I'm going to keep going. So it would just be really fun to take that element out of my life. And I know this is true. A lot of my friends, we talk about when we laugh and sneeze that we lose it. And who wants to go with wet underwear or have it go through? Or if you're wearing a dress or a bathing suit, that's very embarrassing. So this is, you guys have come up with just a really functional and much needed device. Let's talk about how people can get a hold of this. So we're FDA cleared for over-the-counter use. So we're available on Amazon, and we're available on our website. And you can purchase it both of those avenues, and it comes directly to your door, ready to use right out of the box. And you can just start doing your pelvic floor workouts right then and there as soon as it arrives at your doorstep. But Amazon or our website, if you have questions or anything like that, social media, especially Instagram, we're very lively on, as well as our website, if you want to just shoot us an email or something like that. Is it battery operated?
Yes. So we're very into patient security to the point where we don't want your data. So we have a 9-volt battery operated device. It's not Bluetooth or anything like that. It's a closed circuit device, which means it just tells the pelvic floor stimulator, which goes inside your vagina, to work. And that's the only signal that's really being sent. We don't ask for any of your information or your health information, because we know that this is already a very private, intimate, and for a lot of women, very embarrassing thing. So once you have it, it's yours, and we butt out unless you have any other questions, and you reach out back to us.
We have another caller. Hang on one sec. Hi, caller. Are you there? What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, my name's Hannah, and I'm actually calling from Kentucky. I have a question, and maybe I missed this, so apologies if I did. But is this something that you're eligible to use your HSA or FSA on?
Oh, interesting. This one's for you, MaryEllen.
Yeah, actually, it is. It's FSA and HSA eligible. Yeah.
Say what that is. What's HSA?
So it's your flex spending account or your health saving account. So a lot of people with specific insurances, they'll have an account and a card that they can use funds for medical, like contacts, doctor's appointments, and different medical devices, including us.
Do you think, is it covered by Medicare?
So we get that asked a lot as well.
Yeah.
We don't bill insurance in the office. So we do a lot of HSA, FSA, and sometimes insurance, but it's all based on self-claims.
Okay. So do the self-claims come because a doctor may prescribe it? They do. Oh, so if I ask my doctor to subscribe it, okay, that might be a thing. Gee, Hannah, that's a really good question. Thank you for calling, and I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you watching us too, or are you just listening?
Just listening while walking my dog.
Oh, perfect. I'm so excited. Thank you so much for calling, and that was a really good question. I probably wasn't going to get to it. So thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much, ladies.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh, good question. Okay, yeah, because that was leading into what we were talking about. So the next question would be, is it a one-shot deal? Can you change the batteries, and how much is it?
So you can change the batteries if you would like. It's a 9-volt battery.
Okay.
It's something that you have to, like any other muscle in your body, you have to ensure that you're maintaining that tone. Just like your abs or your arms or your legs, once you stop working out, kind of starts to show and you can feel those effects. The same thing with your pelvic floor muscles. So you want to make sure that you're maintaining that. You don't need to do it 3 to 5 times a week, but you want to do it once a week or once every other week, just to make sure that you're maintaining that tone. But the Yarlap is $319.95.
And so it is a one-shot deal, and as long as you change the batteries. Are there warranties if something goes wrong, or you get a lemon just by chance, or? Yeah.
Okay. So we have a 5-year warranty for the control unit, the part that has the buttons on it. And if anything happens, you just let us know and give us a call.
Oh, great. Okay, that's all so good. All right. So
it's a pretty simple process.
Yeah. No, it's all pretty self-explanatory as long as you understand what it does and why it does. That's, I think, the big thing that we've talked about here today, and I think that's important. So give your website. Where can people go? Give your social media stuff, and then we're just going to kind of wind up with some final words.
Perfect.
Did I lose you? What is your website?
Oh,
that's okay.
The website is Yarlap, YARLAP.com.
Okay. And people can go there and be directed on how they can buy it. Or like you said, they can go to Amazon. And same for your social media sites. That would be going to Yarlap Instagram.
Yarlap_OTC.
Okay. And do you have a Facebook page? I think you do. I think I saw it. I tagged you on it. Okay.
Yes, we do.
And do you have any kind of groups or ways that, people can see, or they can probably see this on your website, endorsements and that kind of thing? And I know you have great blogs on your website too. A lot of articles.
Yeah, so we do a lot of educational blog posting about the pelvic floor muscles, postpartum, all that stuff is on our website. You can see reviews and everything as well. Our website is kind of where everything lives. And if you have any other questions or anything like that, just email us or call us. We try to get back to everybody within a few hours. Oh,
that's great. I just love this. It's all things pelvic floor. You know what? We just have a few minutes, and I meant to ask you about men. I mean, we all have pelvic floors. Did men go through anything that we've been talking about, other than the sexual part of it? Do men go through incontinence because of a pelvic floor weakness?
Yeah, so they do. It's not as high of a rate. Again, there are so many factors with women. A lot of long distance runners for men have weakened pelvic floor muscles, just like women as well. Long distance runners, that repetitive motion, that constant pounding on pavement or the ground, again, that just jiggles and weakens the pelvic floor over a period of time. And so men, long distance ones especially, have a higher rate of urinary incontinence. And same thing, Kegel exercises, if you've been instructed to do them.
Okay, so that's what meant. But there's no device that you and your dad got together on, and
not
for men,
not just yet, just yet. Different parts, so different stimulator.
Yeah, what a cool job your dad has. What a neat thing to grow up with watching all. Do you have a lot of gadgets at home? I imagine.
Yes. and always working on something. I think I was very lucky to have a dad who was so into health, especially when it came to
women.
And really anything,
Yeah.
and especially women's health as well. A lot of people, when I was growing up, again, rural Ohio, they would talk to each other. We kind of get our like period information from magazines and each other, which is not necessarily the best avenue.
Mm-mm.
But for me, I always got it from my dad. And he was so sweet about it because it was always just parts are parts. And you have to make sure everything is working properly, to make sure you're working properly. And so there was never any stigma against saying, vagina or penis in our house, because parts are just parts. And so when I got my period, I was really flummoxed. Yes, is the right word. I was like, what is happening? And why am I bleeding? Am I going to die? And he kind of walked me through everything. And he was so sweet. He went to the grocery store and he bought one box of every tampon and every pad and was like, you're going to have to figure this out, but this is what is available.
Yeah.
And I have yet to meet anybody whose parents did anything remotely like that. And I think I'm very lucky to have somebody who was looking out for my health.
Yeah, that's cool.
Vocal about it.
It's cool that he comes up with solutions for things in
Right?
a really
I know.
natural way, and that, that there isn't a drug that he's trying to create to make something go away, because things don't go away from drugs. They only just sedate them. So we're at that point where I want you to give us some final words of wisdom, final thoughts, something to close out the show for us.
So my big thing is, just because something is common does not mean that it's normal. And if you have urinary incontinence, doesn't mean that this is something you have to live with. You can try to fix it by talking to the correct people and getting the correct knowledge and tools. And so, again, it's not something you have to live with.
Love it. And that's really what this show is all about. If you've got something going on, you can find out ways that you don't have to live in that kind of pain or that kind of, inconvenience. And so I really appreciate your time, your expertise, and this wonderful device you have to help people today. And I want to thank you very much for all of that. And I also want to thank you, my audience, for joining us today. I would love for you to keep the conversation going. So go to my YouTube channel, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI, or my Facebook page, same name, Facebook. Ask a question, make a comment, rate the show on YouTube. I would really, really love that, or on iTunes, and tell us what you think. Love to hear from you, because we want to keep this conversation going, and I want to make sure you keep going out and having that conversation, or those conversations that connect to a healthier you. Bye, everybody. We're going to see you in 2 weeks. Bye, MaryEllen. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.